Well, good afternoon, dear ones. It has been a long time since I've been able to come with my regular YouTubes. For those that have subscribed, just like the last time, be sure to make sure I have your email, and myself and the online psychics will give you a reading. And just think of a question that you would really like to know. We do tend to do universal or worldly predictions for the world, but of course, personal things are even more important. Um, but the importance of writing things down in a place that is time stamped, like Facebook, and we have, as I mentioned, the Psychic Predictions for the World group on Facebook. So please join. And it's very important to, when you get a feeling or a flash, write it down, no matter how silly it is. And I'll show you the one that I was so hesitant to actually put online with a date. And it all boils down to Donald Trump again. Let me draw that up for you. And once again, thank you so much for your patience while my voice heals. I'm going through therapy that is making my voice um, what it used to be. My original idea of learning YouTube was that I wanted to do meditations, but I had an accident and I began to learn to write down my premonitions, hence the world predictions that have been very important for guidance. So things do happen for a reason. I would not be doing this if I hadn't had the problem with the accident that affected my voice. Here was the surprise. It is time dated June 1st. I actually got this flash a little earlier, but I was so hesitant to even type it onto the predictions page because it was kind of silly. Here's what I wrote. Quote, "This was a surprise flash and it was fleeting. Trump involved in a child trafficking ring. It wasn't that I wouldn't put it past him, but there's not enough money in it for him to father. It could be a loose tie or an association that implicates him big time." So, hence, I actually got this flash in the beginning of May, but I was so I couldn't write that down. The president doing child trafficking or involved with children in some type of uh, detrimental. It's certainly a horrible thought. So let's look at Donald Trump's chart. This will not be astrological. I have a backlog of predictions to bring to you, but we're going to start here. This is our current POTUS, and I'm going to draw up a picture of the King and Queen of Mean. This is from the internet, and it's titled "The King and Queen of Mean." And this was right after Melania went to the border wearing a large raincoat that said, "I really don't care." Nobody's been able to understand that except it seemed very cruel. And so we have the cruelest, very cruel leaders right now. Now, I promise I won't get into astrology too much, but this boils down to some predictions I did a couple years ago. And it was Donald Trump and his uh, basic transits, which are these are the easiest things to learn if you're learning astrology, starting with the transits. On the inside is Donald Trump's chart. This is why all the astrologers knew that Donald Trump would be elected president, and he would want to be king. This is a king spot. Um, it is Regulus, or means the king, the aspect of kings, and Mars is the red planet. And you will note that Donald Trump actually tries to make himself red. Uh, and he is ruled by Mars, the warrior, and Regulus, and that is the kingmaker. Now the impetus here is to do it correctly. We have the two transits that are setting these things off are the fifth house. This is the fifth house. This is Saturn, Mr. Thou shalt not have, and restrictions, harshness. These two planets together are very harsh, and Pluto has a lot to do with um, being a plutocrat in the fifth house. So let's look at some attributes of the fifth house. The fifth house rules sports, children, speculation, the stock market, and lovers. Now let's think about what has transpired for Mr. Trump. His fifth house is very afflicted. Saturn and Pluto are the big maleficents. They're in his fifth house. What issues have come into Mr. Trump's life? Sports, taking the knee with the sports figures, and this has caused a lot of problems. Next, we have children. This was my flash when I saw a child being trafficked and and stolen and sold. I couldn't believe that. It's, Trump has enough money. Why would he go into something like that? I wouldn't put it past him, but there's not enough money. The only thing that came to me was it was through an association. He might not be going over catching these little kids himself, but he's involved in making money off of them. Next is speculation. Mr. Trump's popularity will rise and fall according to the stock market. The stock market has been steadily going up, but my previous predictions have foretold that in October or sometime before October, we would have a scenario like the real estate and banking crisis of 2008. We would have a repeat. So if you want to get out of the stock market now and think of, and I said earlier, YouTube, please think about anything you would have done differently in 2008 and do it now, because we're going to have a crash like that. Speculation, he's in trouble. Uh, we have the stock market and speculation. He's in trouble. He's in financial trouble trying to hold his empire together. And he's got, and it's going to crash. That's why he has sold his soul to the Soviets, because he's trying to get out of things. Getting out of paying taxes. He becomes president. You know, ruthless. So next we have children. The big deal with the uh, sad little children on the border. Figures and numbers are flying all around the news organizations. How many children and where are they? That's a scary thing. Um, this is this is kidnapping. These children have been stolen from their parents. Then they're shipped off to places like um, Florida and Milwaukee, and they're not. There's no way to track these children and the parents. So this is a horrible crisis with the children. Also, what you're going to find is with the fifth house, it rules his own children. What problems could he have with his own children? Very simply, they're in jeopardy of being indicted. So we have his children are going to be a big problem here. It's only just begun. We have the children at the border, and my prediction of child trafficking. I couldn't believe that, but I wrote it down. there were some other things I wrote down, and I was like, you can't make this up, you know. And so his own children will be indicted and have financial problems. Of course, this is all going to shake down to his kids and what will happen. But right now we have other children being uh, an unbelievable situation. Now, mind you, I wrote down the children thing. I got that flash a little before, right around May 25th, and I did timestamp it for the first. And the thing with the children at the border came to light on June 5th, and that's when Senator Jeff, I call him Senator Jeff, from Oregon, went down to these warehouses and saw the children in cages. And how were they going to keep that? What were they, what were they thinking? But this is children. The end of Donald Trump will be children and lovers. So we have sports. I thought that was going to be the big problem with the taking of the knees by sports athletes. But it's children. Speculation. He's in trouble. He has spread himself too thin. He cannot support his empire. So who does he have to back him? The Russians, which makes him a traitor. So as the stock market goes, so goes his popularity, and his stock market will go down around October of 2018. Also, lovers. What got all this going? Like he wasn't in enough trouble already by being friends with all the communist leaders and alienating the our European allies. Lovers. Stormy Daniels was kind of started this whole landslide of problems for the president. So when you do astrology, you want to look, and if you are a subscriber, I can send you a copy of your chart, and where you have Saturn and Pluto in your house, that would be the area to take it easy and beware. And he didn't. He did everything wrong, fifth house-wise, that is going to do him in. Here we go. This is not exactly a romper room president. These kids are terrified. This was a shot of him when he was running for president, and every time he picked up a baby, they start screaming, out of the mouth of babes. Now, where else could children have been a problem for our POTUS of the moment? We have the Never Again kids from Parkland, Florida. They started because of the Valentine's tragedy on Valentine's Day in February. These kids and people all around the world rallied by the millions, not hundreds of thousands, but millions in the all over the world. They're protesting Donald Trump, his leadership, and the NRA. These kids are not going to forget, and they're strong and they're united. So, as if he already didn't have problems with the young people furious with him, and we have been very proud of our young people. Next, we have the young kids being kidnapped at the border. So that is children. That was my flash, and it also shows in his chart. Mind you, I didn't even want to write that down because it's too preposterous. But our government is now like a soap opera.